from MSNBC by way of the post-millennial, and this is regarding the recent Bloodbath hoax, but they say MSNBC's Michael Beschloss, quote, "A major party candidate is saying, you elect me, there's going to be a dictatorship, bloodbath, violence, retribution against my political enemies that equals what we've seen in Germany." Now, the reason this is strange is because the bloodbath hoax was that Trump said it would happen. The worst would happen. Oh, a bloodbath is going to be the least of it.
Now, if I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath.
If he wasn't elected. But this guy from MSNBC is saying, if you elect me, then there will be a bloodbath. They can't even keep their hoaxes straight.
Michael Beschloss, I want to ask you about Donald Trump increasingly sounding like a fascist, a dictator, mimicking them, and using words that are clearly out of the pages of some of the most powerful autocrats or dictators.
Absolutely.
Okay, so yeah, here we are, batting at the top of the order again, right? So we go through, grab her by the P word and find people hoax and Russia and tax returns and classified documents, all the way back to the top at being a fascist.
Our time in the world.
Absolutely.
And I guess the fear is that for some Americans who may not be informed about history.
So just for clarification, it appears that MS13 DNC, they realize the hoax they're trying to push. The lower third says Trump warns of a bloodbath for America if he loses, but the commentator there on the left is going to say just the opposite. It doesn't make sense. Well, I think he's going to say the opposite. That's what the quote here says.
There's that vulnerability that Trump preys upon. And then there are those who are making the choice. And I need to understand that. Is there any precedent? Or is this how fascism works? Are they sucked in and brought in on different terms?
Yeah, I mean, this is exactly how fascism works, right? You scream down, censor, cancel any opposition. You throw outrageous lawsuits that even Donald Trump can't afford to pay off. That's exactly fascism. Yes, correct.
Whether Trump has something on some Republican leaders or others are just so uninformed, they don't care. Is it a mixture? How does it work? Is there a precedent?
Well, I totally agree with what you've just said, Mika, and that's how fascism and totalitarianism, and in Germany's case, the Holocaust came to Germany, which had been a country where there were big institutions of democracy until, as you well know, the early 1930s. In a way, Donald Trump has done us all a favor, because if you and I had been talking, Mika, let's say 20 years ago, and we've been talking about what would have seemed like a very abstract and distant subject of how fascism and dictatorship might come to America, you probably would have been more wiser. I would have said you would have had some smiling person pretending to be a normal candidate like all the candidates for president who had gone before all the way back to 1789, and suddenly, after getting elected, that person would use the enormous powers of the presidency that are given to that person by the Constitution. In a way, Donald Trump has made it easier, because when he tells you he'll be a dictator for a day, we all know that dictators don't resign after a day. When he uses the word bloodbath, yes, it was in the context of an automobile industry speech, but he knew exactly what he was saying.
And what did these people who are complaining about the bloodbath, right? I mean, truly, what did they actually think? He was calling for violence. So there was going to be Proud Boys and sleeper cells all over the country that were going to come out and start attacking anybody who voted for Beau Biden? What did you think was going to happen? And he even admits that it's about the auto industry. He was talking in Ohio, but they just say that and then move on as if they didn't say that. Same thing with Big Fat Furious Fanny Pack Willis, right? So, the judge can say, she did this, 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 and this, and she lied, and I can tell that she lied, but it doesn't matter because she's a Democrat. Same thing with Beau Biden. He kept classified documents, and he's a doddering old man, but it doesn't matter because he's a Democrat.
He talks about suspending the Constitution or migrants as animals. This is him.
Wait, no, but it was the left that was suspending the Constitution, right? So they were the ones saying, oh, well, you don't have to pay rent, and we're going to force this, that, and the other on you because we throw the Constitution out the window when a manufactured emergency arises.
He's telling you what this choice is. So you were asking Mika, is there any precedent for this? No. I hate it when people treat this race as if...
Of course there's no precedent for this, right? For you guys to be attacking one man running for president at every possible angle, trying to seize his buildings. And that's another thing, right? Letitia James is going to seize the buildings if Donald Trump can't come up with $600 million, billion, trillion dollars or whatever, even though they also hate the cops. You hate you put the National Guard in the subway and then said they can't have guns. So what, the cops, the sheriff's department, who's going to come and take all of Donald Trump's property if he doesn't pay the ridiculous amount of money that she is demanding for something that happens thousands of times every single day around the world?
There's just one more presidential campaign, with lots of jokes, both sides, flaws in both candidates. Yes, these are...
And that's another thing. Oh, flaws in both candidates. Oh, the general public is not happy with either candidate. That is just code word for saying, yeah, well, Beau Biden is really bad and even Democrats don't like him. Because that's just a nice way of saying he's awful. Oh, they don't care for either candidate. Well, quite clearly they don't care for Donald Trump. But when you say both candidates, you mean that they don't like Beau Biden either. And I'd be willing to bet after fifth indictment or whatever they're on right now, it's backfiring on them so badly that this is true. It's true desperation, right? So they're willing to throw it all out because what scam are they running that he may put an end to?
Two old candidates. One of them is mentally stable, Joe Biden, whom I saw give a great speech at the Gridiron dinner on Saturday night. Donald Trump, if you look at one of his speeches at these rallies, this is not someone who seems to have all of his marbles. So all I'm saying is...
So if this guy is on MSNBC telling you that Beau Biden is sharp and Trump is a doddering old man, if you're on their platform, don't you think the same people that can see you can also look at the difference between Beau Biden and Donald Trump, right? So why are you trying to cover up what we can already see?
Apologize for the long answer, but it's important.
No.
As we talk about this campaign, as it unfolds, we have never seen anything remotely like this in American history. A major party candidate is saying, you elect me, there's going to be dictatorship, bloodbath, violence, retribution against my political enemies. That equals what we saw in Italy and Germany and other...
Yeah, so he can't even keep the lie straight. The Chiron says, bloodbath for America if he loses. But then at the very end there, he says, well, if you elect me, there's going to be a bloodbath. They don't even know what they're talking about. Let's watch it one more time. This weirdo.
There's going to be dictatorship, bloodbath, violence, retribution against my political enemies. That equals what we saw in Italy and Germany and other places. Is mentally stable, Joe Biden, whom I saw give a great speech at the Gridiron dinner on Saturday night.
Yeah, okay. So we've gone back a little bit too far, but Joe Biden, he's very mentally stable, and he gave a great speech. But then Trump said bloodbath, and Beau Biden said illegal. They constantly are harping on the words because, of course, if they can control what you say, they can control what you think, they can control what you do. It's absolutely crazy. But my point here is, all of that aside, the hoax, as we know, is if Trump is not elected, there's going to be a bloodbath. But now you will see this guy here say, well, if he is elected, he's saying there's going to be a blood. They can't, right? It's like when you lie so many times, you can't remember the lie anymore. So it just turns into a mess of word salad gobbledygook.
Right. Donald Trump, if you look at one of his speeches at these rallies, this is not someone who seems to have all of his marbles. So all I'm saying is apologize for the long answer, but it's important.
No.
As we talk about this campaign, as it unfolds, we have never seen anything remotely like this in American history. A major party candidate is saying, you elect me, there's going to be dictatorship, bloodbath, violence, retribution against my political enemies. That equals what we saw in Italy and Germany and other places.
Yeah, that's literally not what he said. And that's also not what you guys said he said.
If Americans do not get that, if they choose that voluntarily, then this country has changed in a way that I do not understand.
This is absolute insanity. They can't keep track of the hoaxes anymore. Anything to just let you know, I guess, for the last vestiges of people who believe what these people are talking about, Orange Man bad.